Hello, I'm recording this video because I got a request actually from Melting Movies 1 YouTuber. I just sent him a spare copy of Point Break I had, and I sent it to him with a custom sleeve, a custom made sleeve and slipcover, which I of course made, and he didn't know that I made both of those until I told him in the comments section. But he said, I'm just giving some context of why I'm doing this. He said the quality was so good and to such a high standard that he'd like to know how I do it, because how do I get such good results? So to make a little tutorial on how I actually make my custom slipcovers and sleeves, and not so much the sleeves I suppose, it's more about the slipcovers, although I do print everything on the same card, and it's this card. It is 300 GSM, if you can tell. Yeah, that shows it's a bit thicker than paper. That's not just a regular thickness of a piece of paper, but 300 GSM. I don't know what GSM stands for, but that's what I use. It's a card. It's not a floppy piece of paper. No, it's card. Both sides of it are glossy. The one side has a texture to it, and that's the side to print on. I have printed a few slipcovers on the wrong side of the page, and the colours aren't as vibrant, so you've got to make sure you print on the right side of the card. The other side is just shiny but smooth, and the right side to print on is this side, which has, I doubt my camera's going to pick that up and I just see white, but it's got a texture to it. This is one I did some time ago, but I'm just getting around to printing it now for Edward Scissorhands. Now, he was right to say in my video that, well, he said he didn't think he could print on anything more other than paper. Because it is thicker, yes, if you just press, print, the printer prints and you get the movement and all, but the page, because of its thickness, doesn't take to the printer itself, so the page doesn't start moving into the machine if you don't coax it a little bit. So all you have to do, and I learned this by doing it, the first custom slipcover I ever printed, I remember, was Taxi Driver, which I think still to this day is the best custom slipcover I've ever made. I don't know if anything's going to top that. But I was printing it and the page wasn't going into the printer. All you have to do is apply a slight amount of pressure. Just push slightly on the top of the page, and I do mean slightly. And that's enough for it to go into the machine, and then the printer takes it and it does the rest. If you don't do that, the page doesn't even get close to going into the machine, so you're just wasting ink if you don't do that. For paper, of course, you don't need to do that, but for anything thicker than paper, it needs a bit of coaxing. So yeah, as you can see, I used 2 pages. This is the front, and on it I print the front image and the 2 spines. So that's why it says Edward Scissorhands there twice. And here is the back image for my slipcover, and again it's got 2 spines on the side. I think there's too much head space on there. I wish I could find this image with a bit more space down the bottom so I could position it better, but this is all that's available. So you've got, I think, too much head space up there, but that's beside the point. So after printing them and making sure you print them on the correct side of the card, just trim them first of all. Trim off all of the excess white, or the majority of it, leaving a frame around the sides like so. And I do that with, of course, both pieces. That just makes them much easier to handle when it comes to the next stage. So there they are. You don't need all that excess white around the edges, just the main artwork itself, of course. So trim them both. Now, the next step isn't actually required. You don't have to do it, but I do it just to protect the imagery from getting any damage to it whatsoever. Yeah, I just like to have a coating of protection over this. So for that reason, I take some what I call see-through sticky stuff. Not its official term, but see-through sticky stuff is what I call it. And I stick this onto the pages. So I take this and I lay it on top of the see-through sticky stuff, and then that way I can get a piece which is the same size, and because you don't want all that excess, get a piece of the same size, and then you apply this to both pieces of the two pieces. I'm doing the best I can here to show as many stages as I can, because I can't show every single stage, but as you can see, I've applied the see-through sticky stuff to the top of the card, and then you just peel it off and press it down, lying it flat. Got to lie it on a flat surface, of course, and piece by piece, bit by bit, just take off the paper and it sticks down. I do find it's very useful also to, here's one that I've finished, but you don't just leave it on there. I find it extra helpful to just take my nail and I, bit by bit, just scratch the entire thing all around from top to bottom or left to right, but you want to cover the whole area, because I find that this plastic being on here, it's an additional coating, but with that it sort of changes the colors a bit, and just pressing it over the whole thing brings its natural color out. And it yeah, I don't know, something about this being on here, it just makes the colors bolder. But not if you don't press it. You've got to press it. So that's what I'm about to do now with this one. I've applied the plastic, as you can see. It's I'm trying to show every single stage here, so it's still stuck there. Then of course you trim this off, but leaving the of course you've got to make sure the size is larger than the piece itself. That's why I have the excess white around here, and the plastic is bigger than that, but it covers the whole area. I've scraped it all so the colors shine through, and I know some people make these slip covers and they print them just on regular A4 plain paper. That gives very inferior results. Now it did take me some trial and error, but I found out that this card is the best card to use because it's glossy. I tried matte, it just doesn't give these same results. It certainly doesn't. Something about the gloss of it just makes the image shine so much more. But like I said, some people will just print their images onto regular paper, and they don't. Yeah, the colors are drab and lifeless compared to this. But having applied the plastic, just trim it. Trim off the excess white. I have an A4 printer, so I can't print on anything bigger than A4 card, but if I had an A3 printer, maybe I could print these sleeves on one piece of card, not two. But as I have A4, I have to use one for the front and one for the back. I suppose most people are the same as that. I don't know. Some people might use A3 printers. I don't. I never have. So there is the front trimmed, and now the back. There is a trick I like to do as well after this, the next stage. Okay, so there they are now, both trimmed. And what I was saying is, the extra trick I like to do is when the image is black anyway. This only applies to when the main image is black. Because I'm printing on white card, but the image is black. If I don't do this, the edges of the card you see there, when they're folded together and when it's finished, you will see that white edge sticking out if you don't do this. So I take a black marker pen and I just trace it along the edge of the card, like so, all the way along. Like that. So the edge of it has gone from white to black, and now you can't see that white edge, and you do that obviously on both sides. It doesn't matter if you make a mess like that, because you're going to lay this on top of the other piece anyway, and it's on the inside, so that won't be visible. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about making a mess there, but just cover the whole side like so. And then the sides are not going to show up, as they don't show up right there. Now, other people might have a more professional way of doing this, but I don't. I'm doing this without, proper machines. It's just me doing it to the best of my ability. So what I do is you have to fold the edges of this, and they've got to be done in the right place. So I don't have any fancy machinery. I just take a ruler, line them on a flat surface, press the ruler on the edge, the line where the edge of the front meets the edge of the spine, and I hold it like that, and then I just bend it up and make a crease, and that's on there and there and there and there on every side. A ruler is the best I can do, but it gets the job done. Yeah, I know it's not the most efficient way of doing it, but like I said, it just it suits my needs. So I just take a ruler and bend the card, keeping that flat over the spines. Here we have them now. I took the ruler, pressed them, folded them, so you've got the edges now clearly defined. There is the back piece, and there is the front piece, and as you can see, the black edges I put on them to cover the white edge of the card. Now comes what I think is the trickiest part, is sticking them together, and I just use regular schmegular nail glue. I've got a bulk of these cheap nail glues. You take the back piece, of course, line them up side by side. You apply first of all the glue to this right side of the back piece, and then just stick this on top and press as hard as you can that down there, and then it's stuck permanently. And this nail glue is so good, you've got to really it's not coming off. Once it's stuck on there, it's stuck on there. So I just can't film that process, but just these have brushes on them, as you can see. So this is the one with the broken brush. These brushes do tend to break off quite easily, but yeah, here I got so many of these things. You just take the brush and apply it to the back of the spine here, but I can't do that. I've got to do it on a flat surface, so I can't film that section. But I'm applying the glue to here first of all, and then sticking this piece onto it. So I've done that. That's easy. You just apply the glue. But I do find that here's the tricky part. I said the most difficult part is sticking this second part together, and that might sound weird, but I find that just because I'm doing this manually, just the slightest little movement and the case is not going to slide in perfectly. It can be too loose or too tight, or obviously you don't want it to be too loose or too tight. You want it to be just right. But when you're sticking this together, you lay the edge against the edge on the crease of the card there, but the slightest little movement makes a big difference, so you need to guarantee that you get it in the right place. Sticking the second part together, and then that's it. And I've done it, and this one appears to have come out perfectly. This is what I'm talking about. It's perfectly straight. They don't always align as perfectly as that, but there's no misalignment of this. It's perfectly straight on both sides. That's what you want every single time. It's not what you get every single time, it's what you want. And this is my second slipcover for Edward Scissorhands, because I changed the font for the title here. This is my first one. I decided to do it all again when I found that font with his name written in ice. I just thought it was more suitable. So number 2, they're the same apart from that, except the shade of blue around the edge is different. That's matching to match the title, lighter shade of blue. But other than that, and the different fonts on the spines, they are the same. So I can take my Edward Scissorhands Blu-ray, and with this nice custom sleeve I made, and let's see if it fits. Hopefully I got this exactly right with the sticking the second part of the slipcover together. Okay, yeah, this is what you want. It's not even a little bit tight, it just slides in nicely and slides out. nicely. That's okay. That's great. That's perfect. Exactly how you want it every time. So yeah, this one is spare. I've offered this to a friend, but he's got this same sleeve in a thicker style sleeve with the UK dimensions. These slipcover is for the thinner US style case. As you can see, this is thinner, but that one is spare. One last look at the sleeve I made some time ago. Spine on the title and in a different font, and I like that this is light, this is white here, and then you've got opposite on here with dark, the light and the dark. I did a really nice one for Labyrinth with a white spine and a black slipcover. I like the contrasting colours there. But yeah, there it is, the finished article. I got Edward Scissorhands on the Steelbook. I have this nice steelbook. I used to think this is the nicest steelbook I've ever seen. Looking at it now, I'm not so sure. But yeah, I have this steelbook, I just don't keep the disc in it. I think it might be nicer actually on the inside than on the outside. But this is the Edward Scissorhands steelbook that I got the disc with. I just don't use the steelbook because now I've got this to replace it. And original poster art, I think, is always nicer than just something like that. So I've got original poster art. I'm always going to favour original poster art, and I always try every time to use original poster art on my sleeves, if not the slipcovers. Speaking of which, because I mentioned Taxi Driver being my nicest, I grabbed it off the shelf. This is the first slipcover I ever made, and it's got original poster art on the front. The inclusion of a frame around the edge, I just think, is the cherry on the top of the cake, you could say. I think that's really a nice touch. It looks so much better with that framing than without it. So the front, Travis Bickle on the spine there, Taxi Driver written, of course, and the back is him standing in the taxi stand leaning against his taxi. So yeah, this is the first slipcover I ever made, and the sleeve isn't half bad either. Here's my Taxi Driver sleeve. I like the motif of the taxi cab squares around the edge. It's a nice board, a nice frame. Again, poster art, but different original poster art, because I never would just duplicate the same image twice. Always swapping it up. But a different picture of Travis on the spine there. Taxi Driver written in red, not black, so it's different. And that's the back image. And the film synopsis on the retail one was just some generic font. So actually, in this instance, I wrote that text. I came up with every line of that myself because I thought what was put out by Sony was just too generic. But the special features laid out here in this bar with the taxi cab banner, and I paid close attention to the font I use. It's all got to be right. And once you open it up, there's another picture of Travis on the inside. So I just thought I'd show that since I mentioned it at the start. And obviously I chose a colourless case. All the cases are colourless cases, not blue, so that it doesn't make the picture of him blue. But as I mentioned before, it's nice when it is a good fit, and this slides in just perfectly. Nice and easy. That's what you want. That's what you try to get every time. But hopefully this has answered the queries. I did the best I could to be as informative as I could, and I find that over time the glue might adhere, and it makes it easier. If it's a little bit tight, go back to it later, it might loosen up, because it seems to have done that. I can push this out now very easily with no problem. So that's how I make my custom sleeves. Now getting into how I create the artwork is something else entirely. Maybe you meant how do I actually come up with the artwork itself. That's a whole nother minefield really in and of itself. But that's how I make the actual doing of it, you know, putting it on the card and the card I use. I went in depth as I could. Hopefully, yeah, in depth enough. Yeah, but thanks for requesting this video, because you're not the first person to ask me to do this, so I hope maybe this has been helpful to other people as well. I hope so. And the laminated paper I put on top, it gives them a nice sheen, and you can be happy in the knowledge that the ink's not coming off. You can't get fingerprints on the artwork because it's got that protective layer. You can spill water on it, it's not going to affect it, you know. So yeah, very nice, and I like seeing the edges and they're perfectly straight. That's yeah, the latest one for Edward Scissorhands. And I'm talking for way too long. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment, let me know what you think. Bye for now.
I'm gonna eat a burrito.